Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video, we're going to do our final team reveal for round one of the 2024 SuperCoach season. So, as you can see, I've removed all the players except for the three that I had that played in Vegas. So we will build around those guys, but I thought just to add a little bit of suspense, we'll add them in one at a time. As you can see, there's still 24 hours before the first game kicks off, so I am doing this a little bit early, but trying to avoid a bit of trying to avoid a repeat, I should say, of last year where I made some last-minute tweaks and absolutely regretted it. So what I'm thinking is if I set it and forget it today. And obviously keep an eye on late changes and that sort of thing, but I guess not sort of panicking into wholesale moves. I should be okay. But most of the team is pretty much as it was, so I could probably go ahead and fill in some of the big guns, I suppose. So Harry Grant's still locked in, best hooker in the game, and you can see from his average that's by a distance. So we're going to set and forget him. I guess a similar theory behind having Dylan Brown. Munster's probably the closest to him, but he's sort of under a bit of an injury cloud. Cody Walker, is in that area, but he is very inconsistent. So I guess Dylan Brown's just one of those players we fear not having in the team. So he's locked in. And the halfbacks, we're still going with Cleary and Hines. Again, Clear and away the best two in the position. Not a lot of cheap options that do interest me. And I think, a lot of players are going for one or the other. As you can see, between the two of them, they're not even 100% owned. So that would suggest that even less people are going with most people are going with one or the other, and very few are going with both. So I think I can make a bit of an advantage, or get a bit of an advantage there. I guess as well the fullbacks. So a lot of the other gun options are locked out due to the Vegas games. So we're going to stick with Ponga and Pappenhausen. All right, happy to run with those two. And then I guess from there is where we have to fill in the rest of the team. So I guess the first big change is at hooker. We're going all the way down to Danny Levi. So at 238k, none of the cheap hookers are that interesting or exciting. A few people are just going to pay an extra 70, 80k to get Joey Lussick starting for the Eels. I had toyed with the idea of Phoenix Crossland without Jaden Brayley in the team. But ultimately what it came down to is, the minutes are all going to be a bit unknown. But assuming, they all get similar minutes, obviously Danny Levi offers the greatest value and probably allows me to do a bit more with the rest of the team. So, in those sorts of situations where, you're tossing up between, obviously that extra value is a key point, but like I said, it's also about creating those opportunities elsewhere. And so I guess one of those opportunities is in the front row. I think I talked about this yesterday, but I have brought in Ruben Cotter. Just, I guess, looking at his, previous stats more so. He does start the season playing quite good minutes generally, and then it does tail off in the back end. Someone's trying to call me. Forget them. So I guess what we're banking on is that, he will play bigger minutes at the start of the year. And then I guess once Origin and a bit of fatigue sets in, then they might rotate him out a bit more. So we'll try to take advantage of the Cowboys not having buys. They've named Fini Fuiaki on the bench. So, he may rotate with Jake Granville, could come on and play a bit of lock, but he may also come on and play a bit of hooker. So, if Cotter's going to get similar sort of minutes to Robson in that sense, then I think he definitely has some value in the front row. And also that second row flexibility is going to be a bit handy too, I think. And then on the bench, so I might just go by ownership percentage, will be easiest. Sam Hughes is going to be locked in. I think there's going to be some good minutes at the Dogs for the middle forwards. They have sort of named a bench where all four of them can play in the middle. But I think Farmer-Silly, isn't going to play massive amount of minutes at the start. I feel like, that he's a bit of a placeholder, and I guess we'll discuss whose place he's holding in a minute. But Sam Hughes, I think, he's shown in the preseason that he can, play big minutes with big work rate. So I think we're happy to lock him in. And the other player is Liam Henry. So this was a bit of a toss-up between Henry and Fafita. Both named on the bench. I think Liam Henry's job security. There's a bit of talk about when Leilua comes back into the St. George team that Fafita could be the one that slides out. Whereas, it looks like a pretty set, 17 for the Panthers. I can think of what that logo was for a second. But it seems like he's established. A lot of people saying he's very similar profile to Jermaine Hopgood. And while, Jermaine Hopgood didn't set the world on fire in his time at Penrith, I think we can maybe expect a super slow burn similar to Smith last year, as that third front row forward. And, his worth in the team will definitely increase during Origin. I guess if we hold him that long, ideally if we can upgrade these cheaper options quicker, we will. But happy to have them on the bench for the time being. So in the second row, we're still going with Smithies. So he's locked in to play the 13 this week, and I think he'll do enough to make some money for us in that position. Still going with Hill and Lukey. Almost clicked the wrong one there. So there was a look at him coming out of the side, but I sort of found the money to keep him in there. So we'll take the punt that maybe Nanai is the one that gets replaced for Fini Fuiaki to come on. If not, we can always move to one of the other options at the price, but we do like the upside of Lukey. I did almost click on him, so we'll add him in. Joe Chan, he's the guy I sort of forgot about in the team list reaction video yesterday. So obviously, a straight swap for Bradley, both in terms of our SuperCoach team and for the Storm, playing that edge spot. With their bench, it looks like he's a good chance of playing 80 minutes. And, while I guess Sean Bloor and Kane Bradley will be knocking on the door, it's ultimately his spot to lose. So happy to have him in the team. And then after that, he's going out of favour, but Josh Curran. So I guess people looking at him on the bench, the middle sort of forwards in the bench rotation. But I feel like with his sort of blunted preseason, he had that virus a couple of weeks ago. I guess the All-Stars game he was fit for. But, he might still be just working his way into a bit of fitness. And I think eventually he will become the run-on start in the prop forwards for the Dogs. So I'm treating this as a bit of a slow burn option. But that 420k price as well is a little bit cheaper than those other mid prices. And I think he offers the best sort of value in that price range. And then I guess we're still able to keep Kickout as our sort of pod pick. Again, similar to Lukey in profile that he has upside. You know, Curran may spell him a bit on the edge, so he may not play 80 minutes every week. Um, but I guess what we're hoping for is that upside. And again, if it doesn't work out, we do have options we can move to. So at 5'8", obviously we need to get Strange in there, but we're going to actually use Strange in our centre wing. We're going to use Kyle Flanagan as our backup 5'8". So I guess a bit like a Danny Levi type situation, not ideal, but I guess the truth of the matter is that he's locked into that 5'8" spot at the Dragons. Son of the coach means there's a good chance that he'll keep his spot. It's not to say there's nepotism involved. He is a quality player. And, again, a bit more of a slow burn type pick. We had Isaiah Katoa last year, so surely it won't be that slow. But, we'll cop Kyle Flanagan at 5'8" for the time being. So in the centres, we're going to go with Ethan Strange, Jamin Salmon, and Drew Hutchinson. We've had them pretty much since they were named for the Bulldogs in week 2 of the preseason challenge. So they're all good to go. We're going to keep Bostock, job security, relatively cheap option. We're going to go with Tuapiki as the in the hope that maybe CNK is they take a more cautious approach with his return to the first team. So it may not work out, but hopefully by then we also might have another option to flip to as a cheapie. And so then that gives us enough money, just enough money, as you can see, to bring in Roger Tuivasa Sheck. So probably, I guess people might say, well, you could get Taylor May and have a bit of money in the bank. I think just with the Panthers' tough draw, I'm happy to sit back and have a look at Taylor May, particularly as that season where he popped off in Supercoach, he played wing, and he is moving into the centres. He's probably big enough and a good enough player to handle the centres. And obviously, if we had the money, we'd find a way to get him in. But I guess to bring him in for say a Tuapiki would cost us close to 200,000. So that would sort of involve us chopping a Cotter down. I don't even think Palacia would do the job. To free up the funds. And, I'm not sure on the Palacia pick. We'd have to take like a Kikau or a Lukey and chop them right down to someone like a Sam McIntyre playing on the bench for the Cowboys. But, if we're sort of banking on Cotter to get the minutes, then, perhaps, trying to bank on him and Lukey and McIntyre to get minutes probably isn't feasible. So I think, we're just going to have to sort of go with this setup. But yeah, RTS looked really good in the trials. And, a player of his quality and capability at 540k, it's pretty nice to have in the team. So we'll save the team so we can do a little bit of reorganisation. So not too much there. I guess the question is, who do we start in our second row? So obviously, we've got the likes of Smithies and Curran that are probably more workhorse types in the middle, and then kick out Lukey Chan on the edges. And I guess as well, if I just quickly go through the rest, so Hines is obviously locked in as a reserve, so is Pappenhausen. Put Tuivasa Sheck in for Strange. I think Hutchinson playing half, Salmon playing at lock. There's just a bit more of a guaranteed base than a winger. The fullback option is nice against the Sharks. Their defence is pretty decent. And Strange against Newcastle. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. But I'm sort of backing the boys in to do the job against Para. Unless, of course, Dylan Brown destroys them. So I guess what we've got here in the second row is 2 reserve spots available. So one of these players is going to miss out. And, this is where there may be a little bit of tinkering and thought about it. Um, but, yeah, it probably just comes down to matchup. So I think maybe Chan, he'll play big minutes and he'll score solid, but, um, it'll just be against Penrith. It'll probably be a lot more defence than attack in all probability. And also, I guess, the little question mark around Munster, will he be, fully fit and firing and being able to use Chan running off of him. So just going to lock in kick out and Curran. Just swap Lukey over because he plays in the last game, so sort of makes sense to have him on the bench. In case there's a late out, we can swap him easily to Vinny Fuiaki, something like that. I think other than that, that is the team. The more I talk about it, the more maybe Tuapicki's got to come in for Hutchinson. But I think I'm just for the time being, I'm just going to go with my gut and back Hutchinson's defensive qualities. Hopefully a bit of a taking upside, and we'll just take Tuapicki's cash if he pops off in the first few rounds. So in terms of captain, vice captain, Ponga and Cleary. So this could be the other thing too. What happens if Ponga goes off on Thursday night? Well, I think the answer to that is that Flanagan may turn into Lockie Galvin from the Tigers, and we'll load in Galvin as our sort of loot for round one, and we'll go from there. Obviously, it'll be an extra 100k we have in the bank, but it may be slightly less in terms of the amount of cash we make early on because Galvin coming off the bench isn't ideal. Also, playing for the Tigers, having that bye round one just means they're going to be a week behind in cash generation. So that's just something to be mindful of. If we do take Ponga's score, it does have to be something significant for it to justify that move. But it is still an option. So, pretty comfortable with the way the team is set up. Obviously not 100% comfortable, but I suppose that comes down to just the lack of genuine cheapy options available. There's very few 80-minute hookers anymore, so realistically you probably want to have two gun hookers, but then you can't have two gun halfbacks and two decent fullbacks, because other people may be running with say Teddy and Turbo instead for a similar sort of amount of money. You can't have Dylan Brown and a Payne Haas and choose your second row gun. So I think this team has that sort of value to make a bit of money, but obviously as well we've got 46 trades, so we'll be looking to use those for identifying any opportunities to make cash and jumping on them. So I think that sort of helped as well by the fact we've got the likes of Grant, Cotter we could hold for the season if we need to. Obviously Cleary and Hines, Brown, Ponga and Pappenhausen aren't going to be the worst combination this year. We may want to upgrade Paps at some point. And the likes of two of us, Sheck, Hutchinson, if these guys can hold their spots in the back row, there's probably a few centre wings that we don't necessarily need to play around with too much. And, what that then gives us is that opportunity to just, rotate through our second row and our bench as those value options become available, essentially. But, there's the team in all its glory. So we'll get this out. I'll do the fantasy video now as well and get it out shortly. So if you're looking forward to that, stand by. And as always, if you've got any questions or comments or thoughts, feel free to share them in the comment section below this video. If you enjoy this SuperCoach content, give the videos a like, subscribe for all the fantasy content, and other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.